Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the HPC number OVDG-13/7/16. Okay. I have a couple of different part numbers here, the OVDG-12 and then the -13. That must just be a typo, would be my guess. The 7/16 has everything to do with this offset. And those are the installation instructions, and here is the item itself. Okay, so this is a latch guard, and this latch guard in particular is for outswinging doors. There are different latch guards for in-swing or outswing. They are not compatible in either application. You'd have to have one intended for an outswing or one for an in-swing. The majority of doors that you would put a latch guard on would be outswinging doors. However, what I should say is, because in-swinging doors, you have a little bit less direct access to the latch bolt itself, whereas outswinging doors, given the nature of where the door is in position in the rabbet of the frame and how the door would swing out, you do need more attention to, and there's a link below the video to the installation instructions. You do need more attention when it comes to covering that latch. Okay, so let's take a look at this item itself. Okay, let's take a closer look at the latch guard itself. And that installation instructions, those are linked to down below. So this is basically just an offset piece of steel is what it is. In a, enamel silver type paint. Definitely made of steel. Let's go over its dimensional properties. And the reason that it's an outswing, we'll go over that as well. What makes this an outswing? Overall length, 14-inch is the overall length. Okay. And the dimensions are indeed listed down below. It has a width of 1.8 inch, they're saying, so basically 1 13/16. The important part is that it has a 7/16 offset. Sure, the length is important, sure, the width is important, but that's a bit variable. I mean, you could have this 7 foot long if you had a 7-foot door, and it probably wouldn't affect much. But what's crucial is the 7/16 offset. Okay, and that is of course going to be the dimension that's going to be from what would be the face of the door to the inside face of the latch guard. Okay, so that dimension, just going to put my caliper on here and kind of just do a reality check. 0.415, 7/16 is 0.4375, so depending on how I tip my caliper a little bit. So yeah, 7/16 of an inch, okay, is what this dimension is going to be. Let's illustrate exactly the importance of that 7/16 of an inch, and we'll do so on camera. Let's do so now. So in an outswing door, we're basically going to have a frame that will look like this, or double rabbet, single rabbet, whatever, doesn't matter. You're going to have a door that's going to swing out. Your hinges will end up being over here, right? Well, in this sort of scenario, what we're dealing with in terms of that 7/16 of an inch is we're attempting to compensate for the inset of the door, or perhaps an applied casing. The inset is the dimension measured from the face of the frame to the face of the door. So if we were to illustrate that a little heavier, or exaggerate the inset, it would be the dimension from the face of the frame to the face of the door. Okay, a typical hollow metal door has an inset of about 3/32 of an inch. A typical aluminum storefront will either be the same, or it will be flush, where the door is literally flush with the exterior. So there is no inset at all. A 7/16 of an inch application, inset, or a 7/16 offset on the latch protector is clearly to account for a scenario where you have, here's your door. There's a small inset here. Imagine that that is, 3/32. But then there's some applied trim here, or there's some wall treatment, or something attached to the face of the frame that might be causing the requirement of having a latch protector that has that offset, the distance from here to here. Okay, so here's our latch protector. The offset is here to here. Okay, a more common application would certainly be something like, the last time I sold one before this one, we had a client that had a wood frame on the garage, and there was literally some sort of casing that went around the situation. And the application that the client really was hoping to accommodate was not being forced to use a typical flat style latch protector, but to use one that they could accommodate the offset requirement and not have to chisel all this area out and remove all of this. So the client did not want to have to chisel that area away. And that's where the offset came in. And it worked out perfectly for the client. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we say offset. Let's switch the video back to the screen view now. So now that we've talked about the application of an offset latch guard, you can see why this shape can only be used on an out-swinging door. It would not work on an in-swing at all. I did want to give the thickness of the material. It seems marginally thin. It's on the thinner side. It's 0.068, so that material is basically just heavy on a 1/16 of an inch. Does include the carriage bolts that will be necessary. It's going to include, I've got to say that those are 1/4 carriage bolts, a couple of washers, 2 standard nuts, and then 2 acorn nuts. And the length of this carriage bolt about 2.5, so that's certainly going to be quite adequate for your 1 3/4 thick door. I would really think that a thickness, a length of about 2 1/4 would be more appropriate. However, it's my guess, the reason they add these extra nuts along with the acorn nuts is that sourcing 2 1/4 inch carriage bolts maybe not so easy as 2.5 inch could be. You could also argue that it would be nice to have that first nut down tight and then to counter tighten those 2 nuts against each other as well. There is a slight concern with this that we're going to have to illustrate. So this is the face that will go to the door. The edge, well, let's do it this way. What could be possibly the edge of the door to the center of the hole, and it's a carriage bolt prep, so it's square, is 3/4 inch, as you can see. So if you flush that off to the edge of the door or hold it back slightly, meaning you increase the back set, by a 1/16 of an inch, something in that range, you have to be mindful of the head of the bolt, because you're going to have a 1/2 of an inch project, for sure a 1/2 of an inch projecting off the face of the door. You're going to have to be mindful of the possible conflict that you'll have. Let's switch back to the screen view and take a look at what I'm trying to illustrate. Okay, what you'll have to be mindful of, back to our drawing here, let's just, assume that we have some sort of odd applied material here, that we need that offset. Okay, here's your door. Door is going to swing out. There's your... Okay. Now, that carriage bolt's going to sit out here, right? Sure it will. It's going to come right through the door. The distance from the face of the door to the face of the stop is about the same as the typical inset. It's about 3/32 of an inch. Okay, so this gap from face of the stop to the face of the door is about 3/32, approximately. Okay, here's the issue that you have to be mindful of. The nut that you're going to add, the acorn nut that you're going to add, the washer that will be in here, the problem is, will it be a conflict with that area of the stop? So you have to think that through before you just drill through the door. Okay, you don't want it to hit the face of the stop. It may not be an issue, and this sort of idea or this concept of a hollow metal frame is that the typical projection of a hollow metal frame stop is 5/8. Okay, you could have a wood frame where it's 1/2 inch, so you might have no problem with clearance. But the point being is, you might need to take the back set, the edge of the door, to the center of where you prep it, and skew it this way ever so slightly to avoid this conflict that you see here. Okay, so be mindful of that. You don't want to get that installed nice and then find out, well, now my door doesn't close. Other manufacturers, in all fairness to the problem, other manufacturers will make a very low profile head bolt intended to fit in that area where that thickness is, like, quite thin, and is generally not a problem. So be mindful that there are solutions, but using HPC, who does not offer a low profile bolt head, you're going to want to be sure that that's not going to be a problem. Let's switch back to the camera view now. Now, the fact that this item is 13-inch long certainly tells us that it's going to be very appropriate for a lock set and a deadbolt. Okay, any sort of combination of hardware that you're going to have attached to the door, secure locking hardware that you'll want to protect. 13-inch would be a good length for that, certainly. It will, if you have a typical 7 and 11/16, or I think 7 11/16 is pretty common for a center to center. It's going to work out really great. Roughly 8-inch. You're going to have, 2.5 inch on either end. Centers could be closer, 5-inch, 4-inch. I've seen them as close as 3.5 inch. So whatever the case might be, 13-inch would work out really well for you. There is the link below. There is a link below this video, as we had referred to earlier, the installation instructions that you can review. And looking at the installation instructions, center the guard over the lock face. So position the latch guard so that it covers what you want to cover, is what they're saying. Mark the holes and drill 1/4 inch slowly through the door. I'm probably going to say that you'll want a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch. And what would be really nice to use would be a wire size drill bit rather than a fractional size. My caliper is telling me the OD of this bolt is 0.244. So, 0.25 is only going to leave 6 hundredths of an inch room. So, you might want to go slightly larger than that. But nonetheless, the manufacturer calls out 1/4 inch hole. Slowly through the door. Secure, back to the hole size, especially when you've got 2 holes that you're drilling from either side. And if you're going to drill through the door, having a bolt that is, that a hole that is that close to the outside diameter of the bolt, and if you're drilling through the door and you're trying to drill, just through an existing hung door, rather than drilling it in the flat, maybe with a drill press, you might want to oversize that ever so slightly, just to give yourself a little bit of room. Step 2 of the installation instructions is secure the plate using the 2 bolts, washers, and acorn nuts. They don't mention those standard nuts that are there. I do believe it's to pick up the difference in the thickness of the bolt, but they do indicate in the schematic that's there, the line art drawing. For OVDG 13 from step 3, choose the correct offset needed for the door to avoid cutting the door molding. Sure, absolutely. So what they're saying is with the OVDG series, and we're going to look at the product catalog in a moment, they make different offsets, is what they're saying. So if 7/16 is the magic number, then that would be where you'd want to go with this size. Let's switch back to the screen view and take a look at the extended description of this product, along with the product brochure and cut sheet that are here as well. Now, here is our item that we're looking at. Okay, offset guard plates are used on vestibule doors with projecting door casings, or for doors that are not flush with the frame. These plates, or both, these plates are easily installed by drilling only 2 holes and using a pair of through bolts and nuts. The guards are made of cold rolled steel, have a satin stainless finish. They're a silver enamel paint. 14-inch overall lengths, extends 3-inch beyond the average lock face. I had said 2.5-inch earlier. That would be 3-inch on either end. I forgot it was 14-inch overall length. Protecting against unauthorized forcible entry or forced entry. 4 sizes available. Guard plates come complete with all necessary hardware and the installation instructions. Now, here are your dimensional properties. 4 sizes available. There is, by the time you're seeing this video, there will be a link to the installation instructions, product brochure, and cut sheet. Let's look at what would be the cut sheet first. And that's this document here. And looking specifically at the OVDG, they said there were 4 sizes available. And here they are. Okay. 1/4-inch, 3/8, 7/16, and then 9/16. Okay. That information that we've already discussed is here. What's nice about the document is it will show you other latch guards that are available from this manufacturer. This would be an outswing, as would this. And they're shown, indicated here. They do not offer a in-swing model, although those are relatively uncommon. Okay. Now the product brochure itself is going to take us from, the next document is going to take us from an index review of door guards, an overview of cylinder and latch guards, which will come into play. You know, the cylinder guards are here, or the cylinder trim rings. Okay. This door guard 2, I have reviewed this. This is a nice piece of equipment. What you have here is a couple of pieces of steel that laminate on top of each other and bolts through the door and completely covers your cylinder. And this curtain, this cylinder curtain, goes a long way. It's not really a curtain, but this cylinder face goes a long way to protecting your access to the broaching of the cylinder plug itself. Does a really good job in that regard. Okay. You don't sell them often, but it's a tremendous piece of equipment when it comes to preventing the type of attack that they're indicating here. Okay. A cylinder guard with an integrated latch protector as well, as you can see here. Aluminum storefront, that's most often going to swing out. Okay. These are easy doors to attack. These are easy doors to manipulate, to otherwise vandalize, and bend to your will if you have ill intention. So having hardware that will eliminate the problem or work to eliminate the problem is a great idea. They have different plug protectors based on the high security lock that you might be doing. Zeiss, Icon, Abloy, Dom, and Miwa, those are all high security cylinder lock manufacturers. The Schlage would be a reference to their classic material, but also their high security Primus, their Everest, and their high security Primus as well. Okay. And that's it. That's the product brochure. And then we have the link to the installation instructions. Let's hop back to the item that we're looking at. The final thing I'd like to show you is the link to the manufacturer's page, which can be seen here. You will be able to see not only all of the HPC products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, which is very nice because that will allow you to review their material in its original form, door guards and accessories. Okay, and you'll see all the items in a neat little petite package that we're looking at here. Okay. Also, what's nice about the manufacturer's website is if you are a locksmith and you would like to have access to depth and spacing charts, well, they're here. Depth and space data. And that's really nice because depth and spacing charts by number or by manufacturer. So by manufacturer, just because Schlage is probably the most common or second most common. You can scroll through here and get your depth and spacing charts. Schlage standard, okay. If you're using a Blitz machine, you want the C45. If you're using the punch machine, there's your card. Handy data here, but just pointing out that this is where that resource is on their website. Okay. Then we have their product catalog is here. Okay. Let's finish up this video on camera. So this video has hopefully provided an overview of the HPC OVDG-13 latch guard. The fit and finish is exceptional. I would personally like this material thickness to be heavier. I'd like this to be 90 thousandths thick, something in that range. In my opinion, you're not going to be able to, fatigue this or bend this, but I would like it to be a thicker piece of material. Also, that concern about the length of the bolts and how much hardware is projecting off the face of the door, I don't like. I'd like those bolts to be smaller. It wouldn't be unheard of to make the bolt diameter larger, like 5/16. But the bottom line is the fit and finish is very good. HPC is a company synonymous with really mostly locksmithing tools, and in particular key machines. Their Blitz machine, their 2-axis code machine is probably what people know them for most. And then ancillary hardware when it comes to locksmithing material. But what goes along with locksmithing material is security hardware. Your client calls you out to rekey a cylinder, sure. And by the way, can you help me prevent them from crowbarring my door open again? Sure. There you go. HPC. If you have any questions on the HPC OVDG-13 or any other, and by the way, no other finishes that I notice. Back to the page. Just quickly, yeah, only what they call satin stainless finish. No other finishes on this outswing latch guard. Okay. If you have any questions on this or any other HPC product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.